Well guys, that is a wrap for Huck, and I decided to go ahead and put all of these awesome moments together into one big video for you. So all 12 episodes, an hour and a half long, and you guys get to see just Huck transform from a piece of crap to just something really badass. And you know, honestly, it doesn't look different from episode 1 to episode 12 because we really wanted to focus on the Bronco being able to drive and perform better. You know, I know a lot of us really get wrapped up in, you know, the paint and the wheels and tires, you know, and all these aesthetics. But this Bronco is all about you being able to get it on the road and enjoy it and it be safe. You know, some of my, best moments for this Bronco and this project was getting the engine to actually operate, at all levels, and then re-gearing the axles so I could actually enjoy rowing through the gears on this transmission. And then of course it also allowed us to be able to, go off-road and just push it to, places we never thought it could be. And that's what really just made it memorable for me. So I hope that you find some joy in this as well. And I really hope that it also helps you map out, your journey and be able to see, what you can take from this to make your Bronco great. So with that all being said, grab some popcorn, your favorite drink, get comfortable on the couch, and follow me in this amazing journey with Huck and all 12 episodes. So I bought a Bronco, a classic Bronco in fact. And I know that, some of you have already been through this process and some of you are just now getting into Broncos. And for the most part, we're gonna look in places like Facebook Marketplace, maybe even Craigslist, bring a trailer, and one of my favorites, classicbroncos.com, which is a national forum for all the early Broncos. And the thing is though, it is so hard to find something decent, something that isn't just rusted out or, absolutely a sham. It's incredibly difficult to even get into some and not feel completely duped after you've owned it for a couple weeks. Well, I was fortunate enough to have this opportunity dropped in my lap, and this Bronco ended up being a really good fit for me. Meet Huck, my 72 Ford Bronco. Why Huck? Well, it's short for Huckleberry because the blue is so close to that. It's actually Daytona metallic blue with the second color a close resemblance to Argent silver, which makes for a bitchin' two-tone. And since Broncos are old school and cool, Huck also is a great Doc Holliday reference from Tombstone. Plus this name sets this Bronco up nicely to one day actually live up to the name Huck and make a fool out of that other Bronco they call the Duck. No one will remember the Duck when Huck shows everyone what it's capable of. Huck started out as an Explorer Sport, a special decor 1-year option only. The original color was actually goldenrod, or what I refer to as baby poop yellow. Ugh. We'll get more into the pedigree and the Marty report for Huck in a later episode. If you think that's cool, then you're really going to love what's under the hood. Huck comes equipped with a rebuilt 302, 351 Windsor decked heads, cam and pistons, a 650 CFM Edelbrock carburetor, the original Duffy long tube headers, MagnaFlow dual exhaust and upgraded power steering, and a Tremec 4-speed overdrive manual transmission with the factory Dana 20 style transfer case. Huck also comes equipped with a factory Dana 44 front axle with GM style power disc brakes, a big bearing 9-inch axle in the rear, sporting a Detroit locker and Curry 31 spline axle shafts. Lucky for me, Huck already came with a 3.5-inch James Duff suspension system and Bronco designed fiberglass fender flares to make room for the 33 1250 tires that give Huck an aggressive stance. Check out the interior as it is decked out with Corbeau suspension seats in the front and rear, a 6-point roll cage, and Huck has an IDETIT tilt steering column and some bling parts, like the upgraded stainless polished lift-off hinges and Bronco script billet aluminum polished sill plates. I did take the liberty of adding a center console and a Duff transfer case shifter as well. Now, I did test drive Huck before buying it, and I don't remember that being a bad experience. In fact, I remember it being a really good experience. But when I got it home and I started driving it and looking it over, there's some things about it I really didn't like. Even though I was really happy with the purchase, there's some things I really want to fix. So where do I go from here? Well, there's a million different ways to go about it, but I'm going to focus on three things. I want this to be a solid runner driver. I want it to be a resto mod. And I also want it to be very capable on and off-road. Now, I'm not going to focus on the condition of the paint or how much rust it has or any of those other little quirks that a 50 or 60-year-old vehicle has, unless it's going to alter or affect the functionality and safety of the vehicle. Now, before any of that, I need to make sure this Bronco is ready to drive on the road first. So I've got a safety list here that I'm going to go down, and then I'm going to see what it is capable of. Now, I'm on a budget, so I got to spend my money wisely, which means I've got to make sure that I buy the right parts the first time. We're gearing up in episode 2, where we're going to test Huck in its current state with a few on-road tests to see what it can and can't do. We'll see you guys there. So I've worked down the safety list. I feel confident that this Bronco is now ready to be a daily driver. It's time for the rubber to meet the road. Let's go see what it can do from 0 to 60. Well, that was terrible. It seems like it really wants to wake up over 4,000 RPM, but it can't even get out of its own way. You know, between the stock 355 gears in the axle and the really tall gears in the transmission, this thing's a giant turd. You know, I also think there's a fuel or ignition problem because it keeps cutting out over 3,500 RPM. You know, not to mention the 650 CFM Edelbrock carburetor. I just think that's too much for that 302. You know what? Let's go see how good it can stop. Let's see what the brakes can do. So I've made a brake box, and what that is basically I've got cones lined up at 10-foot increments from 0 to 100 feet. And I'm gonna come into this brake box at 40 to 45 miles an hour. I would like it to be more accurate, but really just anywhere in between that is what I'm shooting for. Now, getting up to 40, it did basically terrible in my opinion. It took about 70 feet for this Bronco to stop at 40 miles an hour. And when getting it up to 45, it was well over 100. You know, it could be a number of things that's causing this, which of course I'm gonna dissect and look deeper into, but the fact remains, there's some major problems that need to be looked at and need to be fixed for this Bronco is safe to go on the road. From here, I'm gonna go and we're gonna do some figure 8s and we're gonna see how this Bronco can handle. I know it doesn't look it here, but I actually pushed Huck as hard as I could. You know, obviously I didn't want to crash it or put it up on 2 wheels and roll it over and lose control. But, you know, I wanted to see just what it would do when I made an abrupt shift from left to right and how well it would control. I noticed right off the bat that it has really poor steering. You know, it just wouldn't return to center very well, which tells me that it has very little caster. But the dual shock setup that came with this Bronco definitely helped keep it stable, even without sway bars. It's time to get this Bronco out on the surface streets and see how it does in traffic. With it handling so poor in the figure 8s and the cones, I think it's gonna be a handful. Now, the thing is I've driven a lot of Broncos And you know, how I respond to a poor handling Bronco versus someone who's never driven one is obviously very different. So what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna get someone to drive the Bronco who has very little experience and see what their feedback is. Eddie, you know, you're a good driver, but you don't have a whole lot of time behind the seat or the steering wheel of a Bronco, do you?
I don't have very much at all. I've had some in my past, but they were stock.
I wanted to give you guys a real world view from someone who doesn't, you know, drive these every day, of how, you know, his thoughts and reaction to, you know, how it drives. So let's go ahead and do that.
Alrighty. Pulls hard to the right when you shift gear. And there goes the left. All right, so it's time to start biting the fingernails.
Yeah. Nice drop off to the right.
Definitely a two-hander. I'm not doing that for effect.
Yeah, I kind of noticed that you're just trying to handle the truck. You can turn around whenever you want.
Alrighty.
Don't have to ask you twice.
That's right.
Let's get this thing back to the stable. So just a little bit of this and you're probably ready to park this thing, huh?
It's a handful to drive. We're going about maybe 40 miles an hour, and it's definitely drifting all over the road. Doesn't want to track straight.
All right, Eddie. So what'd you think of that?
I think 15 or 20 minutes of driving this would stress out the Pope.
Well, that was interesting. I think I'm gonna have to replace the steering wheel and the seat after that. As you can see, this Bronco handles real poorly. There's no way I'm taking it on the highway, as it's still trying to kill people on the surface streets. You know, it's funny, Broncos handling poorly is actually pretty common. So much so that I made a video of that. If you want your Bronco to handle better and you want to keep it out of the ditch, check out the video card above. We've covered a lot of ground with this testing, and there's some major problems that need to be addressed. But before we go any further, I want to take this Bronco off-road. So we're going to go to a Windrock Park, and we're going to test it harder than it probably has ever been driven in the last 50 years. See you there. What better place to test the ability of your Bronco than an off-road park? Here in East Tennessee, we have Windrock Park, and it has tons of trails from mild to wild. There's a good chance Huck will show us its good, bad, and ugly side today. Let's kick off the day with some ride quality testing. I'm only airing down to 15 PSI due to so many unknown variables, but I prefer to be closer to 12 PSI and even lower with good tires and beadlock wheels. We're starting out on Trail 2, which is an easy trail, but it has a few challenging spots too. With 8 shocks, old hard tires, and 15 PSI in them, the Bronco is not exactly floating over the bumps. Still a decent ride, but I think if I spent all day doing this, I'd be wore out. When going up this trail and driving over a decent-sized rock, I noticed the carb wanting to die, so I knew this was going to be an interesting trail ride. The first serious obstacle is gonna be fun. So I invited my good friend Tom High to join me today. He's the owner of Lick Creek Restorations, and he built the Bronco he calls the Duck. Now the Duck is good at everything, so the comparison of Duck and Huck will be interesting, to say the least.
Man, the Duck made that look really easy. I hope I can do anything close to that in the Huck. We'll see. Try again? Yes.
Yeah, between the stock gears and the axle, the terrible first gear ratio in the transmission, and the carburetor constantly dying, this sucks. Honorable mention for sucking is the axle wrap and exhaust. Look at how the axle's moving up. As I accelerate, the axle wrap gets worse. Imagine if I had lower gearing. I'd bust a U-joint in no time. And don't get me started on the exhaust. I thought it was kind of cool at first, but now I really hate it. All I smell and hear is exhaust with it coming out right under the door, and notice it's coming loose under the Bronco. Yeah, it's just begging to be replaced by a much nicer setup. Did I mention I hate this carburetor? I found a great spot to show off Huck's suspension articulation, and it was nice and shaded, so we had some fun messing around with the Broncos since we couldn't commit to any actual trail worth going on. That would have made for an interesting and long day. Well, that was fun. A few more tests to go, and it's time to wrap this up. We went uphill and off camber, and that went really smoothly. And we ran Huck hard enough to get the front suspension to compress pretty well. I'm thrilled nothing broke except maybe my pride and my ego. The Duck really made Huck look like a heap today. Whew. Man, that was a lot of work. What a shiny turd. You know, we definitely figured out what this Bronco can and can't do, where it excels and absolutely falls on its face. Looking forward to seeing you guys in the next episode, where I put my list together of all the things that this has got wrong with it and what the solutions are going to be. We'll catch you guys the next time. So you bought a Bronco. Well, I did too. Now what? Well, first I worked through my safety checklist so I could drive it. I think you should do this too. Then I put it through a series of tests to see what it could and couldn't do. I wanted to find its weaknesses and its strengths. Now, I'm not saying you have to do this too, and most times you probably shouldn't, but these tests were critical for me to find out what the Bronco can do with the parts currently installed. And then, when I change out the parts and retest, we can see just how much of a difference it made. On this episode, we're going to outline what I like, what I don't like, and my fix-it list, with the actual parts I believe will fix the problems. If I am successful at fixing Huck's problems, it helps solve yours too. Then you can buy these parts with confidence and get your Bronco driving and functioning so much better. And do this without pissing off your wife, or for you single guys and girls, running your bank account dry over and over. Also, I hope this will prevent your Bronco being undrivable for months or even years. It's all about getting the most bang for the buck and building something fun and safe everyone can enjoy. All right, so let's start with what I like. Well, first off, it runs. You know, in fact, it's got a hot little 302 in it. Man, that thing revs to like 5,500 RPM, and it just loves it up there. And you know what? It drives too, sorta. Not an automatic. Yeah, that's right. Rowing the gears. Man, that is something I've missed for a long time. It is great to have a 4-speed again. It's got just a little rust. I mean, come on, it's a Bronco. I mean, it's 51 years old, for God's sake, which is great that, you know, it's manageable. Paint is okay. I mean, honestly, it's not bad for how old it is, and it's Daytona metallic blue, you know, with an argent silver. Really, really a nice combination of colors. It's got a nice interior. I mean, honestly, it's got updated seats. You know, there's some bling. You know, it's clean. I really like it. Front disc brakes, a great upgrade for any Bronco. And, you know, even though it's got its issues stopping, it's got good bones. Already has Duff suspension. I mean, if you know suspension in Broncos, Duff is the name of the game. So what a great start there. It's a classic Bronco. I mean, come on. Do we have to say any more? Okay, so let's move on to what I don't like. First things first, the gearing absolutely sucks. And we found that out the hard way at Windrock Park. So it's hard to control. Honestly, I don't know how much caster it has. I'd be surprised if it had any. It scares the crap out of you driving it on the road. The wheels. Now for some of you, it's obvious. Those aren't a great looking rim, and the tires, they're really old. I like how aggressive they look, but they are just, they got no traction and they're really hard. So definitely need to update both of those. Paint on the grill, another eyesore for me. Honestly, it looks like Huck put lipstick on and then smeared it all over its face. And once you see it like that, you can't unsee it. Engine bay and bed liner. Okay, so obviously there's some cancer and some issues with, you know, just the overall look and aesthetics, but man, there is so much bed liner on this dang Bronco. It's like they had a sale or a special in town and like they just put it everywhere. Under the hood, on the frame, inside the cab. Oh man, it's freaking everywhere and it's peeling off and it's just looks terrible. Exhaust. All right, so you guys know how I feel about this exhaust. It sounds good, but it's right in your face and it stinks up the whole cab. It's gotta go. I still like dual exhaust, but it's gotta go further back, and I think we can make it even sound better. The rear bumper. It's not a bad piece, you know, and it has a lot of cool functions, but this Bronco is going to look classic and be functional on an off-road, and I really want to match the front and rear bumper to a more classic look. So it's got to go, and we got to find a better solution here. Moving on to the fix-it list.
All right, so I think that everyone has been waiting for this moment because this is going to hit on so many problems and issues that all of us are having with these Broncos. So how do we fix these problems? The Fix It list is definitely what is going to get this Bronco back on the road, and more importantly, it's going to get it to where I'm going to enjoy driving it and I'm going to want to drive it every day. Swapping out the stock radius arms for T-Rex arms. This is definitely number one on my list. We need to get some caster back in the front end of this Bronco, and this is going to do it. Now, this is a great product, and if you are interested in it for your Bronco too, then I would suggest checking out the video card above, and there's going to be other video cards as well mentioned for the other products that I'm going to share with you next. So next is steering. Now, in order to address all the problems in the front end, we've got to take care of the caster, and we've got to take care of the toe and the geometry of the front end. I can't stress this enough. Caster is king. You've got to have good front end geometry, and you got to have a hassle-free ability to change the toe. That's what this new dual sport Heim steer is going to give me, and then the alignment at the end is going to dial it all in perfect. Axle wrap control. Now, some of you are probably wondering, well, what even is that? You know, like what kind of Greek language are you talking here? Well, you see how that pinion is moving up as I'm driving? Yeah, that's bad. And anytime you lift a Bronco with softer leaf springs, you're introducing axle wrap. An anti-wrap device is important here, and I'm going to go with the torque tamer and the bolt-on bracket for the axle because it's going to cure all these issues. Exhaust. I can't stand this exhaust, so it's definitely going to get upgraded, and I am definitely going with a dual exhaust setup made by James Duff. And the reason why I'm doing that, because it takes it all the way back behind the rear tire, and it still is a true dual, so I'm going to get the sound I want, and I can do it all right in my driveway. This is going to sound amazing. The rear brakes. Okay, I discovered that these rear brakes aren't even doing their job. I really don't know what the problem is, so I'm going to pull them apart and figure out just what is going on in there, because I need brakes. This is bad. So the carburetor, I need to get it running better. Obviously at Windrock, it kept falling on its face, but after looking at it more closely, being a 650 CFM carb, it's really big for this Bronco's engine. So instead, I'm going to go ahead and swap it out and go with a smaller CFM carburetor, and then also make it to where it works better on and off-road. Rear bumper. This is going to be one of my favorite upgrades. It's such an easy swap, and the benefits of the aesthetics and the functionality are just 1,000-fold. Gears and lockers. Okay, full transparency, this was actually number 3 on my list, and the guy with the pen just forgot to put it on there. Dang it, Don! Well, I'll tell you right now, this is such a huge part of making this Bronco drive better. It has got such a tall gearing in the transmission, and with the stock 355 gears in the axles, it just can't get out of its own way. Not only that, it doesn't have a front locker at all. So we're going to definitely have to upgrade the gears, and then also upgrade that terrible Detroit locker in the rear and put one in the front. All right, guys, so that's a wrap on the Fix It list. I am super excited to get into this and start seeing if we can get this Bronco driving and handling better. Now, I'm going to include a full description down below, so you guys will have links to all the parts that I'm going to be using, as well as videos on how to install them. Looking forward to seeing you guys in the next episode, where we're going to tear down and install a bunch of these parts and really showcase how that whole process goes.
With the Fix It list I created in episode 4, we are ready to dive headfirst into Huck and install some new parts. Parts Huck sorely needs to be enjoyable on and off-road. First on the list is adding caster to the front end. I actually went and got an alignment printout from our good friends at Rocky Top Customs, so I knew what I was starting with. Huck has 0 caster. No wonder it's all over the road.
Okay, so Huck has a ultimate suspension system from James Duff on it currently. It's 3.5 inches of lift with 33 inches of tires. Now, this lift came with 8 shocks, 2 per corner, and it also came with hoops in the front.
Now you can still get this lift system from James Duff. However, there is a lot of things that have changed in the last 10 years when this system was first installed, and you can definitely make things ride a lot better. Now, in order to cure the drivability and the handling issues that this Bronco has, we went ahead and installed the T-Rex arm from James Duff. And this is a great piece because it offers an additional 4¼ degrees of caster built into what they call this head unit. This is a game changer and definitely is going to help this Bronco track down the road nice and straight. Also, the great benefits to this arm is that it gives you back that tight turning radius that Broncos are known for. It also is a bolt-on product, no welding, and it's no slouch off-road either. Now, you can check out the video card above on how to install these. I will say this, instead of using the lubrication in that video, I would recommend using the dielectric grease. This is great for preventing Bronco lane, and it's definitely going to be a better product overall. Let's go ahead and check out the steering.
Now that I've got more caster in the front end and my tight turning radius is back, I want to get in alignment and get Huck back on the road. But I really don't want to go get in alignment twice, and I also don't want to keep running the stock 51-year-old steering linkage or track bar. This is the best time to install a few more parts that'll be far stronger than stock and dial in the front end 100%. I'm going to install a hassle-free heavy-duty track bar and a dual sport Heim steer setup from our good friends at James Duff. These parts are easy to install, and your alignment shop will thank you for making their job easier while giving you a near perfect alignment. Check out the video card above on the installation of these parts. We took a closer look at the back brakes and discovered the shoe adjusters were installed backwards. This is actually very easy to do and a common oops. Hopefully that was all the brakes needed to start working better. I'm going to retest, and if that doesn't give me better results when panic braking, I'm going to swap out those old hard tires next. I am so excited to say bye-bye to the old dual exhaust setup, but I'm still going to keep the Duffy long tube headers. I tell people all the time, unless you just can't avoid it, stay away from your local exhaust shop. Most exhaust shops just want to get the pipes hung and get it sounding good. They typically do not factor in that a Bronco needs to be able to go off-road without getting hung up on the exhaust. We also don't want to smell the exhaust while driving or have it kick up a bunch of dust. The James Duff dual exhaust system has thought of everything, and you can install it in your garage or even your driveway with basic hand tools. Not only that, but James Duff also gives you options when purchasing the exhaust to make sure you have everything you need during installation. Check out how clean and tight this is. I chose the low-cost aluminized dual exhaust kit with MagnaFlow mufflers, but they also offer this kit in stainless and mandrel bent. Staying true to my vision for Huck, it is time to ditch the off-road tube bumper. I want Huck to be a classic resto mod that is capable on and off-road, which means I need to put the stock bumper back on the rear so it matches the front. I also have the challenge of wanting to carry a full-size spare that can easily weigh 80 to 100 pounds. The heavy-duty stock bumper tire carrier from James Duff works perfect for my needs. Plus, it comes with the option of adding a receiver, and it is 100% bolt-on. For those of you that already have a stock bumper, you won't need to buy a new bumper like I did. Check out how good that looks. Notice there's a place behind the tire to secure a high-lift jack. Plus, James Duff uses stainless parts in all the areas that make metal-to-metal contact to prevent parts from rusting, and the tire carrier locks out of the way to keep it off the tailgate or so you don't have to fight gravity. All right, that's a wrap for now. We made some decent headway on Huck, and before we can go any further, it is time to take Huck to the alignment shop, and then for a test drive. I can't wait to see how much of a difference these parts make. Just being able to safely drive Huck and inspire confidence behind the wheel is going to be a game changer. With this new exhaust installed, Huck will also be more enjoyable at any speed on or off-road as well. Looking forward to seeing you guys at the next episode where we see just how much of a difference these parts make. Check out the description below for links to all the parts and the install videos for them.
So now that I have the new parts installed on Huck and I've got the alignment done, I gotta say, Huck is driving much better now. But you know what? Really need to see someone else's opinion on it. So I wanna bring Eddie back, I wanna get his reaction. The only problem is I think I'm gonna have to sweet talk him because I think he thought that Huck was trying to kill him last time.
And by Broncos, you've owned a couple of those yourself, but this is probably a new experience for you as far as once they're lifted with big tires and how they handle and drive if they're not set up right.
Right, yeah, most of my experience was with stock Broncos, just small lifts, you know, little leveling blocks or something like that, nothing with big lifts.
Okay. Cool. Well, let's see what you think now that
We're gonna have to edit the heck out of this one.
Yeah, you don't even want to go in fourth. I mean, it's so low, so geared so low, you don't have any power or any control in fourth. Just
okay. Well, it's got just a little bit of wander, but very drivable. It's not nerve-wracking like it was.
Yeah, and obviously this road doesn't help. It's very narrow. It tends to come off a little, and you got oncoming traffic right up next to you. So some of those little corrections I think are normal, but I already see a difference in your body language.
It's much more relaxed. Last time I was, I had to be pretty intense, pretty locked into what I was doing because it would wander so much. I couldn't keep it between the lines. This time, much more relaxed. The road is causing some of the hand movements, but and it's wet.
And that's part of the reason why we use this road, because it is more challenging, and it definitely will show and expose the issues very quickly.
I just can't get over how much different it is. What did we put in it?
Yeah, so it had the factory steering linkage on it. It had the factory radius arms. It had the factory track bar, but it had a drop track bar bracket that came with the suspension system. And as you know, some of the issues were amplified by the Detroit locker in the rear. Well, the big problem that we found is that with the 3.5-inch lift and stock radius arms, even with a 7-degree C bushing, it just wasn't getting enough caster. The other problem too we found is that the steering system that was on there kind of kept it in bind. It actually assisted in letting it dart left to right because it just didn't have the mobility like an aftermarket system can provide. So we took those parts off and we replaced the factory radius arms with the James Duff T-Rex arms and put the 7-degree C bushings back in, and then put the dual sport Heim steer system on as well with the hassle-free heavy-duty track bar.
Okay.
And that allowed us to get over 3 degrees of positive caster, but it also took the dartiness out and made everything work together really well. Yeah, I haven't seen you put 2 hands on the steering wheel yet.
That's right. It is more relaxing drive and much more fun.
Not only that, oh yeah, the wipers. But this is the first time you've driven this Bronco since that first test drive that we had on film.
That's right. I actually like it now.
Okay.
No more wanting to shoot it. So
I guess you could say I'm not trying to kill you this time. And you could step away from the light.
unbelievable difference with just a few minor changes.
Yeah. Yep, I believe that with someone just putting a dual sport Heim steer and some T-Rex arms, and maybe a few other little things, they can get the same result. Man, after rowing the gears and getting this thing up to speed, I'm blown away at how much better Huck drives. We could stop right here and enjoy Huck for many years, but I just can't leave well enough alone. I can feel that Huck is almost there, but there still are some things that just aren't dialed in yet. The gearing in Huck absolutely sucks, and I know this engine has a lot more power that the gearing is robbing from Huck. Now that I can handle this Bronco, it's time to re-gear it. The brakes are pretty much working the same in a panic stop after turning the adjusters around and verifying the drums are working properly. I'm going to throw a different set of tires on for testing and see if that resolves the issue.
Hey, we'll see you guys at the next episode, where we're gonna see what kind of gears and lockers we want to put in Huck, and I'm gonna have to ask my buddies real nicely if they want to help me with a gear swap. We'll catch you guys there.
Welcome back, fellow Bronco drivers and enthusiasts. If you're like me, you want to get out on the open road and on the trails and enjoy your Bronco. But it is hard to do that without the right gears and lockers. So today, we're going to do just that. Now, today is only a highlight reel. Later on, I'll be putting out a tech video for gear and locker installation. Since I opted to DIY the gear swap, first on my list is to figure out what kind of tools and know-how does this take. Can I buy, rent, or borrow the tools I don't have? Do I have any buddies who can help me that have done a successful gear swap? Once I have that information secured, I can start getting the Bronco tore down to know what I actually have and what kind of shape it is in. It's important to note the level of difficulty for doing a gear swap. I would rate this job right around an 8 or a 9 on the level of 1 through 10. Now, this gear swap for both axles will take a day if you have everything and no surprises come up. The better equipped your shop is and the more knowledge you are armed with, the faster and smoother it will go. For me, I am adding a rear axle truss on top of doing a gear swap since I have a busted axle. So I will need to add a few days to strip the axle completely down, remove it from the Bronco, re-weld the crack, weld the truss on, then make sure the axle is not bent, which it will definitely be bent after welding a truss on it, if it wasn't already. Now it's time to go to one of my favorite websites to figure out what gears will work best in my ride. Now this is more based towards off-road vehicles, but it really can work for anything. Now you're going to be plugging in all kinds of information, so you're going to have all the right data in place in order to get the right answer. Now I need to figure out what gear ratio I need, but I'm going to also go a little deeper, so if I want to go with a bigger tire later than a 33, I don't have to do this again. So now that I have all this great information from grimjeeper.com, I really need to know where my engine makes power and how my transmission is geared. I may be swapping out the trans later as well, so I need to know how these gears work with that transmission also. I know where Huck makes power from driving it and watching the tack, so I'm pretty confident which gear set I need to choose. Looks like 456 gears are going to be perfect for me. Next is lockers. You could spend a ton of time and research trying to figure out which lockers are best for you, but let me save you the headache. If your Bronco is mostly on pavement or even 50-50 on and off road, and you have less than 400 horsepower and 35-inch tires or smaller, just get some type of helical gear style locker. You know, like a Detroit True Track, an Auburn, or even the Curry Twin Track is a great choice. They work great, are low maintenance, and you don't have to push any buttons or pull any cables to make them work.
Save the aux locker, the ARB, even the E-locker, and the Detroit for a more purpose-built vehicle. Now that gears and lockers are figured out, it's time to select the brand. Proven name brands are always a smart move, and you can trust the companies that build axles every day, like Currie Enterprises. They typically always choose a good brand gear and locker. I went with USA Standard Gear for the front gear set and Richmond Gears for the rear. Then I chose Detroit True Track for both the front and rear for my lockers. Now you need to purchase your master install kits for both axles and any upgrade accessories you may need or want. I almost went with a Daytona pinion support for the 9-inch, but I really want to see what abuse the standard pinion support can take. From there, I'm going to add lube locker gaskets, a Currie Dana 44 diff cover, and a fair-priced, high-quality 9-inch rear axle skid plate from our good friends at James Duff. Man, look at that rear skid plate. It's so shiny. Stay tuned for the next episode where we find out just how much of a difference this gear swap made in our next 0 to 60 test. From there, we're going to tinker around with the carburetor some more and see if we can get that really tuned up. I can't wait to do a final 0 to 60 with Huck and just see how fast he really is.
Swapping out the stock 355 gears to 456 has made a significant improvement in drivability. And without making any other changes, I managed to shave 3 seconds off my 0 to 60 time. Notice how I had to shift into third gear right before I got to 60? Well, there's something going on with the carburetor or ignition that isn't allowing the engine over 4,500 RPMs without cutting out. The Edelbrock 650 CFM carburetor is not working very well on Huck, on or off-road. I may be able to rebuild it and tune it to make it off-road better, but it may be a waste of time and money if it has too many CFMs to begin with and not a great start for this engine. So should I go with a new carb? Well, there are several new and refurbished carb options available. Some great off-road too. I could go back to the trusty, reliable 2100 Motorcraft 2-barrel, but then I'd be lacking top-end power. There is always the Motorcraft 4100, or even the Holley Truck Avenger, or even crazier options which will give me that top-end power, but the theme for this build is build on a budget without cutting corners where it matters. So I happen to have a 630 CFM Carter AFB carburetor on the shelf that may be a good match. I just need to rebuild it and tune it up. At this point, a lot of you are probably thinking, no, don't put another carburetor on Huck. Why go backwards? While others are going, what's a carb? Well, believe it or not, many people either grew up on EFI or they just didn't spend a lot of time around carburetors. So in these cases, the carb just gets tossed in the scrap pile and EFI is installed. Well, let me tell you, carbs are really not that scary or mysterious. And after a little knowledge and some tools, you can keep the old Bronco running great with a carburetor. We could keep the Edelbrock 650 CFM, but the old 630 AFB Carter is sitting in the corner, is calling my name. Trustworthy, reliable, and can be made to work decent on and off-road for a Bronco like Huck. I think the carb can also help Huck in 3 major areas: low end lag, which is making takeoff sluggish. It also dies while off-roading, and it needs better overall top end performance. You gotta love TV magic. Out with the old and in with the new. With the wideband air fuel meter made by Innovate, a vacuum gauge, and a timing light, we can quickly and accurately dial in the carburetor on Huck. We bought the Innovate AFR tool from our friends at Summit Racing. Since we are tuning a rebuilt carb that has never been on Huck, we are taking this time to also install a new distributor and coil from our friends at Pertronix Performance Products. Now for the moment of truth, can Huck do 0 to 60 in 10 seconds or less? Finally, we did it. We finally got Huck to do 0 to 60 in 10 seconds. With the matching of the gears and the ignition system, and of course just tuning it in, it finally got like 8 seconds shaved off. That's crazy. I mean, it's just a totally different Bronco. I think we can all agree that it's time to get back to Windrock Park and see what this Bronco can do off-road. I've got some other ideas that I'm kicking around, and I want to try them next. So stay tuned, and we'll see you guys at the next episode. Now that Huck is a lot faster, I've really got to get the brakes dialed in. You know, I've got these really hard, really old tires that just ain't working so good. So I'm gonna swap them out for some newer, fresher rubber that's stickier, and just see how much better it can stop. Now, this is not an apples to apples test. The new tires are 35s, where the old ones are 33s, and they're 10 pounds heavier than the old ones as well. So, we'll be very interesting to see just how much better they do.
Flat spotted another set of tires. F***ing great job, Michael.
Do you guys want to see how fast Huck can go with these tires and wheels? F it, you know what? Let's do another 0 to 60. Man, 12 seconds. I gotta say, I love the rims. I'll pass on the tires. Let's just take a minute, stand back, and just look at how much better Huck looks with those slotted mags. God, I gotta get some new wheels and tires for this thing. Okay, so I wanna go back to Windrock Park, and before I do that though, I really wanna change the suspension. Now hear me out. I know the James Duff 3.5 suspension that's on there is really good, but I really like that new product that our friends over at Lick Creek Restorations came out with, which is a hidden winch that goes right behind the stock chrome bumper. But the problem is that in order to put that on Huck, I've got to put a 1-inch body lift on. I just don't think it makes sense to keep the 3.5 suspension and add a 1-inch body lift, because with them combined, the Bronco's just gonna be too tall. And then I gotta put bigger tires on and long arms, and I'm just going in the wrong direction. That's just not what I got planned for Huck. All right, so here's what I'm thinking. I'm gonna swap in the new 1.5 suspension system from our good friends over at James Duff. I mean, who am I kidding? You guys aren't idiots. There it is. It's already on Huck. Look how good that stance is with the 33s and the cut fenders. Now, the real question is, how will it perform?
send it.
All right, so some of the key features of the new 1.5 suspension system. First off, right out of the gate, it's got a brand new redesigned leaf spring that actually takes away a bunch of pinion angle that most leaf springs pull back in when you lift a Bronco. From there, you've got a long travel shock package, which also includes longer shock mounts. And it's also going to excel in drivability, control, stability, and articulation. Crazy to think that the 1.5 can cover all those areas and excel so well at all of them.
All right, so let's see here. We're locked in.
So this is the new 1-inch integrated body lift by James Duff. So it doesn't even look like a body lift. I think that's the best part about it. And I know there's this huge stigma about body lifts in general, especially on pickup trucks. But I'm gonna tell you right now, a 1-inch body lift on an early Bronco, you almost won't even know it's there. And it just opens up so much more options for you in order to really make the Bronco functional. And hey, let's face it, if you don't like the gap that it exposes at the front and the back of the Bronco, you can easily put filler panels in, which are also a great product by James Duff, or you can buy their plate bumpers, which lift the bumper up to hide it.
So this is a pretty steep drop off for this truck. It's 1.5 with 33s with a 1-inch body lift, stock bumpers. So there we go. Oh, it died again.
No, I killed it!
Oh, what did you do?
I know how to fix it.
All right, game back on. Go that way a little. There you go. Yep. And send it. That's not. All right, so Brian's doing an idle test with the carburetor right now. Uh-oh. Can you hear it? Damn, man, look at how sick that is. Holy cow.
Straight up and down, bro.
Dude, you're crazy. Yay. She didn't die. All right.
All right, guys, so I'm almost ready to really test Huck again on and off-road. You know, really put it through her paces. And as you can see, where I'm at right now is a great place to test things like the carburetor. Now that it's on and working really good, we got to see what its limitations are, you know, for off-road use. And it's really shown us a lot of cool things, which has helped tremendously on dialing in the Bronco. But there's still a few more things that need to be done before Huck is truly ready to be tested again. And those things I want to cover with you guys on the next episode. So definitely stay tuned because I'm excited to get with you again. As you can see, Huck has really come a long ways and it's just been an amazing journey so far. It went from an absolute turd to just a fun driver on and off road. I'll see you guys at the next episode. I can't wait. Definitely post a comment and of course, subscribe and we'll catch you guys then.
Yeah!
2 days later.
Yeah.
Previously on Bronco Garage.
Yeah.
Hey everyone, Monster Mike here, and I've got Brian the mechanic hanging out with us today. What's up,
What's going on,
Brian?
Michael? We having fun yet?
Yeah, we're doing good. Obviously, you all saw the epic failure with Huck. Yeah, the rear end has just completely been destroyed. And of course, you know, if you guys are just tuning in, this is probably news to you, but we have been posting this on social media as well.
Yes, we have.
Yeah.
Just a couple times.
So a lot of you are probably wondering, well, what exactly happened? Well, let's just build up to that here for just a second first. You know, because Huck has been an amazing driver. I mean, it's really come a long way.
It's been great.
Yeah.
It's actually been one of the funnest cars we've kind of thrown together right now. We've got, it handles well. It's got great power.
Yeah.
It hauls ass when you want it to.
Yeah.
And it sounds amazing.
Right.
So we were kind of getting to this point where we're kind of feeling like we can do anything with this car.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's been jumped. It's been drag raced. I mean, it's had all kinds of things thrown at it.
And it's done very well
at
each and every one of these things.
We've 0 and 60 tested, brake tested numerous times. I mean, it's just taken a beating and just saying, what?
Yeah. Come back for more.
Right.
Yeah, what's
That's
next?
Right. That's right. So naturally, I thought, Huck is invincible.
Turns out it's not.
No, not really. But we certainly thought it could handle anything we threw at it. So, of course, that's where we got into this situation.
You've done a fantastic job of removing the pinion from the third member without any tools.
I would have to say that's one of the fastest times ever.
Yeah. It's fine.
Wow, yeah. I'm sure we can reuse this. I mean, there's a lot of grit here, so the JB Weld should hold.
Yeah, these parts are a little questionable, though. The pieces.
Come on.
They may not
have
hold
some
together.
faith. I see the duff part had a little bit of a boo-boo as well.
Well, this did what it could to hold the pinion in place.
Until the pinion obliterated.
Until the pinion went, no, I'm leaving. In fact, the head of the pinion support bolt is still in it. It's actually stuck in it. I can't get it out.
Stuck. Wow. Wow. Well, we were drag racing with the duck.
Drag racing the duck.
And absolutely spanking it.
And beating it.
Yep. Which was surprising to me because the duck is a very well-built machine.
Yes.
So we kind of want to give you like a little play-by-play of what actually went down.
Send it to 4,500. Okay. Sweet spot, baby. What the fuck?
This isn't all bad.
No, I mean, this really isn't all bad.
Yeah, but the question is how's the housing? How's the torque tamer?
So, torque tamer is great. It's not bent. The titty bob is a little tweaked.
Okay.
But I think
it did its job though. It didn't fail.
It did not fail. And the housing is totally straight.
Okay.
So, housing's good, axles are good, torque tamer's good.
So we're not talking about the elephant in the room here, right? Which is the floor, the bed of the truck.
Okay, so yeah, the bed of the floor is a little damaged.
Yeah. Maybe in another 5 years we could have it back together.
Well, I mean, if we're gonna go on Monster's timeline, it's gonna be at least a decade.
Okay.
This dumb son of a bitch.
And he is desperate for a fix. Look at him.
Perfect example of why mothers eat their young. I can't believe it, man. What are we gonna do with this guy?
I don't know. He's gonna break everything he can find. You know, they say barn find, and then that wasn't a barn find.
No.
It was I think they found that in the woods somewhere.
Bottom of the lake. Loch Ness Monster drug it out.
That's not gonna stop the wasps from attacking you.
Susie, we gotta do something. Monster Mike's at his wit's end. Huck is broken. I saw him going after Pony Express. I feel like he's just going over the top and he's gonna go after any Bronco that's gonna give him the time of day. I think it's time to order something for him.
It's time to go for the rear end, isn't it?
That's what she said.
Hey Brian, do you know how to set points? Oh man, that's strange. What is that?
It's time.
It's definitely time.
What's up?
Come here, Michael. We're gonna have to have an intervention.
Why?
How many is this now?
Look man, I told you. I was just doing what you told me to do.
What, 3?
Look, I honestly lost count, but this has got me really concerned. Like, what is this?
Well, so they sent it to us in this nice shipping case. Here if we want to.
Man, that thing's heavy.
Yeah, a little bit.
That's a nice case, by the way.
It is a very nice case.
Oh.
So, obviously, much more webbing than your factory third member housing.
Wow, look, you guys.
Well, yeah, it's built for you.
Look, no homo, okay?
Let's get this thing out of here and actually get a good look at it.
1,200 horsepower.
1,200 horsepower.
Man.
Obviously, you can see from here, we have a billet pinion support with a Daytona bearing in it.
Man, that's the yoke is a lot bigger.
Yes, we went to a 1350 billet yoke versus your cast 1310.
Wow.
So this is much stronger.
Here, I'll take this. I'll take that.
So we've got this loaded with a Detroit True Track, just like what we had set up before.
Yep.
These caps are nodular and much stronger than the small little tiny caps that came on these originally.
Wow. Yeah, I can see the difference right there.
Yeah.
Okay.
And this is loaded with a set of US gears, 456 gears.
Okay.
So same gear ratio we had before. With a US gear set.
So this is also something I just kind of noticed. Check this out.
Yes, the flange is much thicker.
Yeah, the flange is thicker, but look at all the webbing too.
Well, that's the point about this is it's able to carry all of that load, where the original stuff is I mean, it's adequate for street driving, but it's not designed for doing burnouts, off-road driving, you know, really pushing the car hard. And that's really designed for a 302 that put out in its heyday a couple hundred horsepower.
Yeah.
And we're probably double that in Huck now.
So what you're saying is that this is the official third member for the 4500 Club.
Yes, this is the official 4500 Club rear end third member.
Excellent. So I noticed that there's also a new skid plate from James Duff on the table.
Yeah, so unfortunately, the original one, it did its damnedest to keep the pinion support in the car, but it left anyways. Obviously take Huck to that next level.
What are we waiting for?
Once I get this in, a drive shaft.
Let's do it. I'm ready. You ready?
Yeah, let's
ready.
go.
Let's do this.
doing, Michael?
Oh, just surfing, man.
Trying to figure out how to blame me for breaking the rear end on
Hey,
Huck.
come on, man. If you'd never called me, I would have never done this.
Uh-huh. I saved you some bits and pieces. You can make like a pendant or something, or necklace out of this one.
I'm gonna make you a necklace. It's gonna be really tight around the neck.
Like this?
Yes. Thanks, though.
So, we got Huck back together.
Yeah. Yeah, it actually looks really
we have
good.
fixed the bed, which was a giant hole, and
Yes.
now looks, for the most part, like it never even happened.
Yes, that took the wind out of my sail, but I gotta say, Brian, all that pounding you did, it actually made it look a lot better.
And then while I did that, obviously we had tank out, so we got the new EFI tank in, but we don't have EFI yet. We're just setting that up for carbureted.
Right. Yep, that's good because the other tank couldn't do body lift and it wasn't set up for carbureted. Yeah. So what a good time. It's like killing two birds with one stone.
That's right. It's a beautiful tank that Lick Creek designed and James Duff sells.
That's right.
Put a skid plate on it. It is a beautiful piece.
And we took the time to do a tech install video, so that's coming soon as well.
Yeah. Look forward to that, guys. And then
yeah, tell me about the torque tamer.
So the torque tamer did not fit with the new Strange third member.
Yeah. A lot of grinding and cutting. Not a lot, just clearance, right?
Yeah. So basically just kind of clearanced all of the brackets for that and the skid plate to make sure that they would fit onto the Strange third member. There's a lot more beef around the bearing caps, front and back on this. And there is more webbing than the factory housing. So we had to do that.
Same with the James Duff skid plate too, right?
The skid plate as well.
A little more clearance in there.
I had to clearance the bottom of it for the rear mount, and then the front mount, because we went with a billet pinion support.
Right.
Is a much larger piece, so we had to really clean that up.
That's true. You know, now that we're back on track, it's nice to be able to look at other things too, like the brakes.
Yeah. During this time, we actually did upgrade the brakes. So the brakes on this were actually in pretty poor shape. Most of the hard lines were pretty rotted out.
Well, the rear brakes weren't even functioning, right?
No, they didn't work at all.
No wonder I was flat spotting tires.
Yeah, the proportioning valve was obviously stuck to one side. It just didn't do anything.
All right, so run me down here. What did we add and change here?
Okay, so on the brakes, we did brand new hard lines all the way around.
All right.
And they're all stainless, so we don't have to worry them rusting out again.
Awesome.
We did a brand new James Duff bracket for the booster, a brand new James Duff booster, a Willwood master cylinder, and a Willwood proportioning valve.
That integrates to the master cylinder?
That integrates right next to the master cylinder, so it's super easy to adjust. We can really tune this thing in to where you can flat spot all 4 tires.
Ooh, perfect. What else did you do for me on the brakes?
I added a line lock in for you. So that way you can lock the fronts and do a smoking crazy burnout.
I love it. And it's hard to do them with 3 pedals.
Yes. It's very hard to heel toe in a Bronco. The pedals are so far apart. Right. So we got that working. And
so don't forget when you're going to wrap this up to add the gear oil. Okay, that's pretty big. And also we like to use Lucas 8090 conventional. And the reason why is because we're running a Detroit True Track and we want it to work when we go off-road.
Yeah, those helical cut gears don't want a synthetic oil that slips really easy. They want something that starts to have a little bit of a drag to it.
That's right.
And it works beautifully with those.
Now, also remember to do your break-in process. You need 250 miles on this Bronco before you start really getting after it.
Yeah, so no burnouts, no
hard launches.
No trying to race the kid with the Honda Civic down the street.
Dang it.
Just easy driving, cruising.
Yep. That's right.
And try to break that up into about 25-mile increments. That way you're not overheating the gear set, overheating the new bearings.
Right.
Because technically while you're doing this, you're kind of heat treating all these components.
Got it.
And you're doing that in the car.
That's smart. So now that Huck is back, better with stronger parts, you know, we can move our launch RPM to 6,500.
I mean, if you really want a bay window the block that bad, we could definitely do that.
Nah, I can take it.
Well, it'll hang together. It's definitely we've had it apart. It is a balanced bottom end.
Yeah,
so
it's a good strong motor for sure.
It's a good base for you to wreck everything else around it.
I can't wait. Well, hey, thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe. We've got a lot of great content on the way, especially now that we've got Huck back in gear.
Yes. It drives not only in 4-wheel drive with the front wheels, and now it drives with just rear-wheel drive.
Yep. So make sure you guys leave a comment, and we'll look forward to seeing you guys at the next one.
So I bought a Bronco.
do you say, Brian? You want to do this?
Sure, why not? You want this chair or that chair?
Ugh, that's definitely yours.
I don't know. It's got a brown spot on it.
Mm-hmm.
What's going on there, Monster Dyke, and your pink sparkly cup?
Hey, that's menstrual Mike to you, okay? All right, I happen to like that color. You know. So
I mean, you do like your pinks and pastels.
Yeah, that's true. There's nothing wrong with that. I am very, very confident in my manhood and my sexuality.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm. So, Brian, we are here today to talk about Huck. This 1972 Ford Bronco behind us?
This one?
Yeah, that one.
Nah.
Yeah. And I'm here to ask you some questions about
it's
it.
Nice now, but when I got here, woo!
Yeah. Yeah, no doubt. Yeah. You know what's funny is when I first test drove this Bronco, it actually didn't seem that bad at all. I don't know what that's about.
Were your eyes closed? You were in an open field in the dirt.
No, I was on a road.
No.
With the previous owner in the passenger seat.
With traffic.
Not really. It was a neighborhood.
Okay, so
yeah.
So you only went like 15 or 20 miles an hour.
Maybe 35 or 40.
Yeah, so you never actually drove the car.
I'll be honest too. I liked the aesthetics, like the paint job, and the Bronco's really well put together. Like it's a solid 20-footer.
Yeah, the aesthetics.
Yeah, other than the front, the grill.
Yeah, Huck and his, who's a pretty Bronco? Just keep going with that lipstick.
Poor baby. One day, maybe we'll fix that. But anyways, Brian, you know, you've been with this project since day one.
Yeah, pretty much.
Pretty much. And got to see, you know, what exactly we started with. I'm going to ask you a couple questions and just kind of go down a list of things that where we've been, where we are now, and where we're going with this project.
All right, let's do it.
All right, cool. So, you know, obviously there was a vision for Huck after driving it and kind of seeing where it was at. What was your first take on its drivability?
Horrid.
Okay, to put it bluntly.
I mean, it barely got out of its own way. I think our first 0 to 60 tests were 20 seconds plus.
Yeah, it took forever.
It stopped, I don't know. Our first tests were in the 70s and 80 foot marks for 45 miles an hour. This is like,
yeah.
Today's cars are stopping in that at 100.
Yeah, right, exactly.
And then the fact that it changed lanes every time you shifted was really fun.
Yeah, either in the ditch or oncoming traffic is basically what you got when you changed. Yeah, so the faster you tried to push it, the more it wanted to change lanes.
It was really fun.
You know, we actually put some people in it that never driven Broncos before, and that was very interesting to watch.
Well, watching Eddie.
Yeah, right. So with that, of course, was born a list of parts.
Yeah.
But I wanted to keep this on a budget, you know, so I had to ignore some things. I had to focus on really just the most important things, which of course, you know, you guys saw the list if you watched the second or third episode.
Yeah, I mean, we put the list together and it was more or less, these are the most outstanding issues with Huck.
Like the top 6 or 8 that we have to focus on now.
Yeah. Let's make it something we can drive first before we go anywhere else.
And we didn't just like put a new suspension on, or new wheels and tires, or fix some aesthetic stuff. Like even the cage really could have been at the top if we were super concerned about safety.
Safety third, buddy.
Yeah. So, but no, instead we just made sure that we could get it driving. So fast forward, we've got those parts on the Bronco, and every time you started, adding a part, Huck just got a little better and a little better. And I remember very, very vividly when you finally got the engine tuned and the re-gear was done. It was Duff's Dinner and Drives last year.
Yeah.
And it could finally get out of its own way and shift to like 5,500 RPMs. I'm telling you, the sound of inside that Bronco at 5,500 is, shall I say, orgasmic.
I mean, it's definitely
phenomenal.
It's magic.
Yes.
And it comes on at 3,500 and just it wants you to keep going.
Yes.
But you right around 5,500 to 6,000, you start to hear a little bit of valve float. It's like, okay, we're gonna back off.
Power trims off. Yeah. And that's, you don't want to push your Bronco that hard until you've done these other things first, like fix the geometry and the caster.
Yeah.
Get it driving, and of course the brakes.
Yeah. You want it to stop too?
Which of course we kind of didn't get the brakes fixed as good as we wanted until the very end.
But that was because it was an ongoing testing process.
And we were trying different things because
Right.
obviously we didn't think that maybe the proportioning valve was just stuck. We thought maybe there's an issue with the drums.
Yep.
Maybe there's an issue with the wheel cylinders, and
Yep.
starting to check adjustments and make sure we're not overlooking
Or
basic
the tires
things.
even.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we did that in phases, and finally we're like, okay, we know what's wrong here. It ended up being a bad proportioning valve. But yeah, phenomenal braking now. Holy cow.
Oh yeah, I mean, with a carburetor on it, you can stab the brakes now as long as you don't brake traction and try to really modulate your brake pedal. This thing will come to a stop and stall itself out just because none of the fuel is at the jets any longer.
Yeah.
It's all smashed up to the front side of the float bowl.
And you know, we should point out that the work that you did on getting the carburetor tuned and adjusted for this Bronco, it's hard for me to justify going to EFI because of how much fun this carbureted, engine is in this Bronco. But I just think it's important to point out to people that you can rebuild a carburetor on a Bronco and have fun.
Yeah,
you don't have to go to EFI just because you don't understand carburetors.
And here's the thing that a lot of people don't understand is carburetors are realistically infinitely tunable. It's just taking the time to tune all those little pieces in. The only real aspect you're gonna run into with EFI and carburation is carburation doesn't work all that great at angles.
Yeah.
When you're
changing elevation.
where you're out wheeling and you're bouncing around and you're getting to a funky angle, that's where your carburetor starts to fail.
Yep,
If like, I don't know, what, probably 50% of the people that own Broncos, they never see the dirt and they don't want them to see the dirt. On the street, a finely tuned carburetor is amazing.
Yes. So with all that being said, and the Bronco running really good, things kind of came unraveled for us a little bit. Why don't you tell me a little bit about that, Brian?
Okay, so, well, we started doing a bunch of burnouts with it, trying to figure out how far can we really push this car without hurting it.
Right.
Or so we thought.
Yeah. Well, every time he drove it, he didn't hurt it. Like, there was no visible damage anywhere. So he was pushing the car to its limits and it was doing what we wanted it to do. It's only when I seemed to get behind the wheel that we would break things.
Maybe we got to teach you some finesse.
I definitely did not finesse anything when I broke it. That's for sure.
Now, Michael jettisoned the pinion with the pinion bearing support completely out of the third member
of the rear
ripped up a bunch of stuff in the rear end.
Oh yeah, it was bad.
Basically, the only thing we could save out of it was the axles, and the housing was still straight.
Yeah. Well, the traction device was fine too.
Oh, okay, yeah. So
we could have done that too.
Could have saved that, but we went ahead and just ordered a third member that was assembled, ready to go with the gear set that we had, and with the track lock that we had set up.
Mostly because this is something that was going to be all these really great parts, and it just didn't make sense to have us do all of the assemble work when for a little more money they just do it for you.
Yeah.
So, but it's important also for people to understand that was definitely an oops. We're not intending to abuse a Bronco, especially on this project. It's about finding a way to get it running and driving, and then have you be able to enjoy it so much to where you're confident that you can throw the keys to a family member, a friend, or just be able to go on the freeway and not white knuckle it the whole time.
Yeah, make it drivable.
Yeah, you should show them some carnage.
Yeah, it was the second break there. So apparently, the stock Dana 20 output shaft cannot handle Mr. Leadfoot and toggle clutch.
Oh, that was fantastically awful.
So
I was not very happy that day.
You don't get to see Michael walk around here much, but his right foot smashes into the ground and his left foot is just up and down really fast.
Well, it was funny too, because when we broke the output shaft on the transfer case in Huck, I was coming up a hill and I heard it go, and it was like PTSD. Like I'm hearing this drive shaft hit the bottom of the tub, and I'm like, no, not again. But it was lighter. It wasn't as violent as the first time. And then directly behind me, here comes Brian up the hill in another Bronco, and I hear some audible click, and now he's broken too.
Yeah,
so it was
apparently
classic.
Silver still did well going up a hill in two-wheel drive, but I noticed, I'm definitely not getting the pull I'm normally getting out of this, but it broke a hub.
Yep.
Super simple. What, a 5-minute fix?
Yeah.
On the trail. Not so much for the output
Huck,
shaft.
to put it in view, I mean, Huck was broken on Wednesday and fixed on Friday. So for a whole transfer case to come out and be tore down and then put back in 2 days, pretty awesome.
Yeah, I mean, we tore it down. We installed advanced adapters.
Big, beefy.
Dana 20 upgraded output shaft. And
Really
it went
nice.
in beautifully.
Yep.
It's a little bit longer than the factory one, but I mean, just comparison between the two is huge.
Yep, and it comes with its own brand new 1310
output yoke.
Yep.
That's because it's like a 31 or 32 spline.
Yes. Yeah, versus
output
a 10
shaft
spline.
versus a 10 spline square cut.
That's right.
So it's a huge change in the strength of the output shaft.
Right. So Brian, where are we at now with Huck?
Right now, Huck is a great daily driver. I hope you spend however long. I mean, obviously we're going to be doing some little things here and there with it, doing some instructional videos, but I think every day you should be driving this car back and forth to work.
It drives phenomenal.
Enjoy it.
Yeah. So Brian, what's next for Huck?
What's next? Well, obviously after you enjoy it for a while and we get on some of these other projects that we've got just sitting around, like say Monster.
Yeah, don't get me started. Is it running yet?
Sure, yeah. Go sit in it and go brum, 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 and you're totally good.
Thanks.
No, but I think really for Huck, it's, let's do EFI and test that for people.
Sure.
Show them the differences between the two and do an install with it. Mm-hmm. Obviously, during that, we'll upgrade our install video for the tank, showing the EFI side of it.
That's right. Yeah, because there's a tank video coming out. Yeah, it's probably out already by now.
The transmission it's worn out, synchros are toast, and it's
terrible gearing.
It's kind of horrible gearing. First gear is second.
It's like an
second
80s.
is just a second and a half, and then you got third, which is 1-to-1, and then it's got an overdrive, but it's like way out there.
Yeah, it's like an old Tremec. I don't know if it's a 170, somewhere around there, but it's an 80s F-150 truck transmission.
Yeah, if you're not buzzing third, you're not pulling fourth.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's definitely, I agree. We need to update that. The cage.
The cage is horrible. It is. I mean, it's bubblegum welds, and it's in the way of the window cranks. It's a
DIY cage you can get from the vendors, but the way that whoever installed it was wrong, and they didn't put the sandwich plates in like they should have.
Yeah, and it's got different size hardware everywhere.
Yeah, and it's not good.
Yeah, it's
terrible.
It's bad. And most of the hardware is actually missing.
And if we do that and take the top off, I'll probably put like a fiberglass top on from Bronco Design, insulate it really well, and then probably run some AC, because I want to enjoy it all year long.
You like to be comfortable in it during these summer months where it's 95.
Don't need the Easy Bake Oven option.
I mean,
I'm not really good with that.
They all come with the Easy Bake Oven option.
Right. Some paint.
Yeah, we're going to fix this, because that's so bad.
The engine bay also is pretty cruddy. I mean, you open it up, you're like, oh my God, that engine looks amazing. So does the brakes now.
Yeah, I mean,
but the rest of it's bad.
Looks like they were rhino lining the tub with that roll-on stuff you got from O'Reilly's or whatever.
Yep.
And it went into the engine bay too, because might as well just do everything with it.
And let's be honest, if we're going to go 100 miles an hour, we might want to change out those 12-year-old tires.
No, those are totally fine.
They're not that dry rotted, are they?
Only where the black part is.
Oh, see, that's not bad. And the wheel's got to go. That's just aesthetically speaking, that wheel doesn't belong on a Bronco, and I'm really looking forward to getting rid of it.
A period wheel would look really good on this truck. Yeah. Obviously, after the paint's done and all that, it'll look great.
But that's what's next. But really, not anytime soon. Like Brian said, it's time to enjoy Huck. It's time to make some fun videos for Huck, which are just just for you guys to watch and enjoy.
I mean, and if you want, let us know. I'll sit out front here and smoke these tires off of these things until they're gone.
Hey, let me have a try.
I don't know. You're gonna break it again?
Yeah. But yeah, and honestly, come check out the events out here in Knoxville, and other events maybe too, but definitely Duff's Dinner and Drives, because Duff's Dinner and Drives is just an awesome laid-back event in October. It's an open house at James Duff, and you get to go check out the back roads, do some leaf looking, and some good eats. So if you want to see Huck, make it an event. What else do we got slated for Huck other than that?
Other than that, I think that's pretty much. I mean, besides we're going to do testing at Windrock and really push this thing again.
Right.
Hopefully without breaking it this time.
I am excited about Windrock because this is only a 1.5-inch lift, but it has a 1-inch body lift, and the shock package on it allows it to really articulate.
Yeah.
So there's a good chance that even though it's not really a tall Bronco, that it can really flex.
Yeah, I mean, we've got some testing done with it now. It's super low slung.
Yep.
Which is kind of something I like to go for. I don't like a super tall Bronco.
Right.
Like I said, we're an 1.5 inch suspension with a 1 inch body lift.
Yep.
And we're getting, what, 35 inches of
Almost
vertical,
30, yeah, almost
vertical wheel
36.
travel.
Yeah, it's crazy. And we've got to test this new tank from Lick Creek Restorations and their hidden winch that we just installed on it as well.
Yeah.
So those things are going to be interesting to see how well they hold up off-road.
Yeah, I mean, we really need to go put Huck now to its test.
Yep. And some more instructional videos will be coming out as well, because this is a great demo Bronco for all kinds of parts. Yeah, and just so you know, there were a couple other things that we didn't really hit on about Huck as far as products go. We got the torque tamer in. We got the new dual exhaust from James Duff in.
Yeah.
Those things all tied together.
And the James Duff exhaust is freshly dented from the pinion.
Yes, it held up really well.
On both mufflers.
Yeah, and it didn't seem to change a thing. So why replace those parts? But yeah, we got that.
One clamp's a little loose. But
Well, guys, Huck will return, but we're gonna be busy doing other things for a while. So we're gonna add some information in the description below. Check that out, and of course, please leave a comment. We love your feedback. And subscribe if you haven't already, because we've got more great content, especially if you're crazy about Broncos like we are.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah. And we look forward to seeing you guys at the next one. Well, guys, thanks for joining us, and I hope you enjoyed this this long video of Huck and its journey. Some of you are probably wondering, like, well, what's next for Huck? And hey, what's next for Bronco Garage? Well, Huck is going to be enjoyed, for a while. And of course, there's plenty of other things to do to this Bronco, but there's other projects going on right now. And that's what we're going to do with Bronco Garage. So definitely stay tuned. And if you're not already subscribed, do that too, because you'll get notifications. And leave some comments. We'd love to hear your feedback. And don't forget, we're also on social media. So check us out on Facebook and Instagram. And just be prepared. We've got some really cool stuff on the way. Looking forward to seeing you guys at the next one.